So welcome everyone to the second session of Bring Your Camino Quality Home. We've just gone around the room and did the most beautiful introductions and heard all of these amazing intentions that people have of what they want to bring home from the Camino and what the inspiration was, which I think is just fun to connect with. Thank you all for sharing. So my name again is Kathy Kay, and I think what I didn't tell you last time is that I'm a life coach. And the way that plays into today is I love helping people create and what they want more of in their life. So this is right on that same path. And I love being creative. This is my playground. Almost the more challenging, the better. In today's session, we've already shared the Camino Quality that we have each chosen. And we're going to be in breakout rooms today and in the large group sharing what our experience was from last week. I had invited everyone to look at where do you already notice it existing in your life. And then today we'll go into a more active, I don't want to call it planning, but a more proactive way of looking at how can we bring it even more into our everyday life and continue noticing it. And I hope to get really creative. So last time I showed you this slide, Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. And I say, follow your Camino Quality, whatever it is. And when you do, my thinking is that things will start shifting. Life will start meeting you. What you appreciate appreciates. On the path, you will meet people who will open doors for you, who will resonate with that quality, who will want to meet you in that space. Joseph Campbell says, I say, follow your Camino Quality. I'm sure he would have said that. And don't be afraid. Doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. So how good can you stand it? Kind of, Randy, your thing reminded me of this, like how much love can I take in? How good can I stand it? Or how much joy can I actually find in my life? Can I go even farther than I think I can? For me, my quality is attunement to light, attunement to my body. And it's like, how attuned can I actually get? How intimately can I know the inner experience that's going on? So that for me, I find as inspiration. Before we move into breakout rooms, I'd like to, this is what we'll be doing. You're gonna, again, you can share your Camino Quality. You've already shared the inspiration, but if there's anything else that you didn't say that you want to share in your group, you can. Why do you want more of it in your everyday life? What would that do for you? Why is that important right now? And then give at least one experience of where it's already showing up in your life. And before you move on to person number 2, person number 3, I invite you to celebrate that person and celebrate yourself. It's something that it starts to rewire the brain. It starts to rewire the brain as a reward center for the things that we're doing right, that we want more of in our life. So before we go into that, I'll put the screen up one more time before I put you in breakout rooms, but I'd love to hear from a couple people before we go into the breakout room. Why do you want more of your quality in your life? And where did you notice it showing up this week? Were there synchronicities? Finding it in unexpected places? I will say, I will say that I just said that my Camino Quality is like a really gentle attunement to my body. The reason I want more of that is that in everything I'm learning right now about healing, somatic healing is so powerful and so important. And attunement to my body is not something that was really a strong quality of mine, but it was definitely something that I had on the Camino. So the reason that I want more of this in my life, there's also a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And anytime, it is said that anytime in our life that we have something really challenging or traumatic that doesn't get processed in that moment, it is stored somewhere in the body. And it's by going into the body, feeling the feelings. You have to feel it to heal it. That's where more liberation comes. So that's what I'm seeking in my life these days. And the way that I noticed it this week is I just asking that question, where is this already showing up in my life, would immediately take me into, well, how is my body feeling? Well, how does my heart feel right now? Oh, I'm noticing constriction in my stomach. And just asking the question was really, really powerful as a reminder. And I also noticed that, I don't know, 5 days in, I'm like, I was forgetting to do it. I wasn't doing it as frequently. So for me, there was a noticing too of, I need a reminder that tells me to keep tuning into this. And that's just how I am. So that's my experience of it. And again, I'm hoping to hear from a couple of the rest of you. Deborah.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
So I had this feeling of preparing to go on the Camino that I was being led, and other people have talked about that feeling of divine guidance. And to me, that when I talk about magic and mystery, that's a good part of it. Um, so this week, one of the things that showed up, and it's really funny in hindsight, I had to do a cardiac stress test. And I've been very anxious about it. And I go in there to get up on the treadmill, and facing me on the wall is a painting of this path. It could have been a Camino path. And I just took that as, okay, get lighthearted, you know. And that felt like a kind of guidance too. Don't get yourself so stressed about this. Just chill and relax into it. So that was fun. The other thing, and I don't know if I can talk about my personal stuff, but one of my writing things, but I created this deck of pilgrimage cards after I came back from the Camino, way after, because it was what I wished I had had while I was on the Camino to access divine guidance. And I thought, well, you got them already, Deb. Pull a card. So I've been trying to pull a card every day. And like you were saying, it's even though I have it pulled and I'm trying to have it be mindfully in front of my thoughts, it's hard to stay there. So I guess I just need to keep going and keep practicing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good point. That's how we make things into habits, is the daily practice of it and coming back to it. And in a way, the anchoring I keep talking about is the celebrating it, because it's like, oh, I want to do that again, and then get the celebration at the end of the day. Do you have your cards in front of you, Deborah? Can you hold them up? They're beautiful. They're lovely. And if you would read just a couple of them.
You need.
Pilgrimage cards.
So it's a photo of that swirling Camino path, which always felt very magical to me. So the one I left out, the one I got today, it's signs. Today, ask for signs that the divine is guiding your path. The signs may take any form: wisdom offered by a friend, an overheard comment, a special treat from the nature world, perhaps a literal sign like a bumper sticker or a billboard. If it feels like a sign to you, trust that it is and write it down. So I haven't left the house yet today, but I haven't gotten any signs, but I'm going to be leaving. So hopefully some signs will show up.
Yeah. And you may even get some signs in this call today, from things that other people here are sharing and such.
Already have. Thank you for reminding.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really great. Thanks so much, Deborah. Lauren?
I'm actually curious to learn more about these cards that Deborah shared. How did you make those? Like, how did you put that together? Because it looked like it was something that um like you created and then like had printed. Like, is that
Yes.
how did you do that?
Well, I had experience of getting cards printed up before, and it was actually just a local printer. And I knew somebody who had done it before, and she was a graphic artist, and she set it up for me, and the printer was able to do it.
And they can be purchased. If you want to put that into a link, Deborah, that would be great. Can they be
Yes,
purchased
please.
on YouTube, or what's the best, not YouTube, Amazon, or what's the best place?
Actually, my website.
Okay, would you put that in the chat for us, please, for anybody who's interested?
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
And
Thank
Deborah, I
you.
acknowledge you. Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I acknowledge you because there's that awareness. It already exists, that you created it already, and now you get to use it on this Camino.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing. I have them and they're just they're beautiful cards.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear from at least one other person before before you all go away into your own breakout rooms.
Go.
Yeah, Leo.
I'm familiar with Van der Kolk's book that you referenced about the body keeps the score. That's pretty, a lifetime's work with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I came back from the Camino, I started doing therapy, more therapy. And I found myself interested in finding my true self, not the self I thought I was,
Mm-hmm.
the self we think we are. And so the Camino, to me, the Camino provides is like an act of faith. It's like a letting go of trying to control. And so to me, that was very important. So I have a little difficulty finding the exact quality. I like the person who used the all's well. Well, what I found is like your work on attunement to the body is actual work. You actually have to put the work into I sent you that thing from Jim Carrey where he realized that to access the divine, he realized that thought was the source. His opinion was that thought was the source of all suffering. You had to stop the thoughts to find the divine. That's kind of what happens on the Camino a little bit. But for me, I came back thinking it's like a metaphor. If you can accept life as a journey, is very different. And of course, it's a cliche, and you can use the words, but in actuality, to look at it as a journey is a different paradigm than you have to protect yourself from the inevitable, bad stuff that's coming. And so to me, I found myself focusing on the work to get there. I guess you are too, Kathy, because you're talking about trying to be more attuned to your somatic healing. It's actually like work, right? I mean, I guess I'm asking a question.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say it that way, Leo. Definitely there's work, and I also see it as a practice. And I think I think that the healing part is work. And I also think that the quality that I'm bringing home is just like that gentle attunement. How does my body feel right now? So it's expanding my capacity to even tune into the body, so that when it's time to do the healing work, if I'm working with my coach or such, then I have the capacity to sit in the feeling for longer, to allow the sensations in the body to be present. So I hope that answers your question.
It's kind of like the practice is kind of like mindfulness, and mindfulness is actually,
Yeah.
you have to fight against distraction.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I'm saying it's kind of work. You actually have to commit, at least as a novice, to mindfulness, to resist the incredible numbers of ways where you can get distracted into like a comfortable self or an historic self. And it actually, so it's a practice, but being mindful is actually a lot more work than they suggest it is. So, but I like the idea of a practice.
It's simple.
We're all in practice, right?
Yeah. Simple, not easy. Did you experience an example this week of finding your quality in a place that already exists this week, Leo?
After the meeting for 2 days, I've done Reiki healing in the past.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of a euphoric feeling. And for 2 days after last week, I felt giddy's the wrong word, but euphoric. So there was an energy created by the group that was
Mhm.
profound.
Nice.
And by about the third day, it wore off.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and of course, that's why I say that Jim Carrey thing is I want to get back there.
Yeah, I hear you.
It comes and goes like a wave, and you're trying to get. So that's the way it showed up to me. The conversation showed up in my euphoria or giddiness,
Yeah.
just like feeling like I was floating on air.
I have a curiosity about something I'd like to run past you. Um, I said last week that I was studying spiritual psychology. There's also 2 USM grads on this call. I'm so excited. Randy and Esther also both graduated from the school that I went to. So Leo, what I'm wondering as I hear you talk is in that school, gosh, I don't know if this is exactly how either of the other two would say it, but we have an authentic self. And then there's all the conditioning that kind of gets piled up on top of us and around us. And habits and what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of sleepwalking through, being on autopilot and all these things. But the authentic self is the most true self. I see it in 2 ways. I see it as the God self that's within us, and the qualities of that are unconditional love, joy, compassion, wisdom. Those are some of the main ones. And that definitely exists within each and every one of us. That's why I love that Rumi quote, our task is not to seek for those things. It's to find all the barriers within ourselves that we've placed against it. And so I see all of those things as the conditioning gets put around that. So the task is to remove those things. Now, one of the magical things in my mind about the Camino is we go there and we are naturally removed from so much of that conditioning because we're not dealing with the same people, we're not in the same work situations, we don't have the same responsibilities, we're not on autopilot driving back and forth to work, and we don't have status and and all of those things are set aside for a while, so that on the Camino, I think one of the most powerful things is that we show up so much closer to our authentic self than we are typically doing in our everyday life. And I'm wondering if that resonates with you, that kind of framing of it, Leo.
Absolutely. You get away. It's amazing what you just said. When you strip away all that, you find, and it's like, I think that's why people want to go back and stuff, is because I want more of that.
Yeah.
And I'm in back here, I'm blocked.
Yeah.
But there, you make friends with people, like Javier was saying, you make friends with people just randomly, easily. Who doesn't want more of that, right? And
Yeah.
right, so yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And in Javier's case, I think it's his innate joy that's coming out. It's not like that was created on the Camino. The conditions were right, but that's already within inside him. That's who he is. Um, and that's why really what this is about for me, if I'm going to get down to it, is all of us returning to more of our authentic self in our everyday lives. I think the reason that you had a euphoric high after the call is you got to show up again in community and be your authentic self and be seen as your authentic self. And yeah, let's do more of that. And if we can bring that home in ourselves and we can have that ripple out to one other person and then that ripples out, that I believe starts to make a Camino of the whole world. So not that I have too big of a vision, but hey, we can get a couple steps closer, right? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go into those breakout rooms. Let me put that slide up one more time. If it's, yeah, start with the Camino Quality, that will frame it. if you want to share the Camino inspiration. We haven't shared why you want more of it in your life, so please do that. And give at least one experience where it's already showing up in your life. And then finally, when I tell you to switch, make sure that you acknowledge your partner, thank your partner, congratulate them on finding what they found in their experience last week, and just support them in whatever way they can. Have a great time. Thank you all. I hope that was supportive. Kind of like what Leah was saying earlier, I think it's just talking about it and getting into the feeling of it and reporting on it and celebrating it and hearing it in other people. I know for me, for sure today, I'm learning so many things from you and really tempted to change my quality or modify it, which I may do. I just might crystallize it a little bit more. I might bring it down to the essence. And there's a couple things I've heard from other people that it doesn't change the quality. It just gives me more information about what it really is, you know, maybe an even finer focus.
Can you share, Kathy, from what to what you're refining from?
So I'm refining from attunement to my body to, I need to sit with this after the session, attuning to possibly the inner feeling of all is well in my body, or that feeling of trust, and being able to relax and feel what that feels like in my body, and noticing where there might be blocks and just sitting with that. So attunement to the body, I guess I'd say it like that, Jennifer.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to share my screen one more time. There's a man who wrote a great book about the Camino called Returning from the Camino. His name is Alexander John Shaya. I heard him speak at an American Pilgrims on Camino presentation online. So I don't know if this is exactly what he said, but I want to give him credit for whatever he said, which was something like, I knew on my first Camino, I'd discover something that I'd bring home and have to make 1,000 decisions about. When I heard him say that, it really was like the most beautiful bell in my head, in my heart, that's like, oh, wow, there's something there. I knew there was something about it. The reason I put it on the slide right now is we're going to move into the more proactive part of this 3-part series. And that is, how do we create more of that Camino quality in our everyday lives? I discovered, for example, using my quality as attunement to my body, I discovered on my first Camino this beautiful attunement to my body. And there's an opportunity now for me to bring that home, and I will have to make 1,000 decisions about it. Am I going to do it now? Am I going to sit with that discomfort now? How do I bring that into my morning routine? How do I do that when I'm feeling really upset? So that's what I mean by that. That's why I choose this quote to move us into the next part. I want to begin to give you some ideas on what this could look like. How do we create more of it in our everyday life? In the Tuesday session, somebody chose the quality simplicity, and then they had a mindset, which I would kind of call a mantra, either way, just for today. So you could choose a mindset or a mantra and put sticky notes up around. Put it on the dashboard of my car when I'm driving around. Another idea is to install an algorithm. If my quality is tender attunement to my body, an algorithm is if blank, then blank. That's what an algorithm is. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, then I will curiously run a scan of my body. I'm sitting there anyway. It's a time that I can remember to do this practice. It could be if I'm feeling overwhelmed, then I will tune into my body. Anything like that. James Clear have any of you read his book called Atomic Habits? It's a wonderful book and very practical steps on how to create new habits and how to uninstall habits that we no longer want. So he gives us some things like make it obvious. He talks about if I want to start exercising every day, I'm going to put my shoes in front of the front door so that I'm going to see it, or I'm going to put them right at the foot of my bed so that, or my workout clothes right at the foot of my bed so that when I get up, I immediately do that. That's also making it easy. Make it attractive, make it something I want to do. The make it satisfying is that celebration that I've been talking about. If I do what I say I'm going to do, then I will tell myself, way to go, I did what I said I was going to do. He also says the make it easy part can be, my agreement with myself is I will walk to the end of the driveway. I will at least do that because I know I can accomplish that. If I get to the end of the driveway and want to keep going, then I certainly will. But if I come back in and I'm like, okay, I did what I said I would, I walked to the end of the driveway. All right, I did it. I'm celebrating instead of beating myself up. I should have done more. I haven't done it enough. I don't know if I can keep, all that kind of stuff. So those are some ideas to keep in mind as you're thinking of ways that you can bring your Camino quality more into your everyday life. The main question, I always get too wordy. The main question is, how can I create more of my Camino quality in my everyday life? That's what you're going to talk to with your partners if you need to remind them what the Camino quality is. Here's some things to consider. How could I be even 2% more joyful in my life? How could I be 2% more joyful in my relationship, work, calendar, the most challenging area of my life? I think it's a great way to start and end our day as bookends. So how could I integrate this quality into a morning or evening practice? By the way, you don't have to talk about any of these things, but if you're stuck, they're just areas that you can look. How could I attach some kind of a practice to an already established habit, such as driving to work? Brushing your teeth? Or how can I create conditions where the quality would flourish? So the idea here is to come up with as many quality ideas as you can. You don't have to commit to any of them, just see the possibilities. And as you leave today, I'm going to ask you to write 1 to 3 down. So you might want to be jotting ideas down as you're in your breakout room, and then choose 1 to 3 to actually do in the weeks ahead. So go ahead and join. Both of you, welcome back, everyone. Deborah, still not enough time?
No, never enough.
I know. We really want a pilgrim table, where we have hours and hours, don't we?
Yes.
I hear you. Well, okay, let me say this. Hopefully you came up with some good ideas. And if you want to right now, I'd like you to begin thinking about, and you don't have to decide it in the next 7 minutes. You can take this out and in the next day be thinking about what are 1 to 3 things that I can actively do in my life to bring more of this Camino quality present.
Can you
You can start right, go ahead.
Can you put your screen up before? I was trying to copy down the.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Things, and I got 2 out of 4.
Is it this one?
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you.
I'm going to share one more thing. I wish we had more time, but I will share this. We talked a little bit about conditioning or habits or things that get in the way. I want to talk about something I learned along the way called WOOP, W-O-O-P. The WOOP stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. The wish is, I want more of this Camino quality in my life. The outcome is why you want that, how you want to feel, what you think it's going to bring you, how it will enhance your life or the lives of the people around you. The obstacle is what might get in the way. And it's good to plan for that obstacle because we aren't on the Camino. We're living in our everyday lives. It tends to be a little bit more hectic and there are more demands on us and more distractions. So what do you perceive might get in the way of you experiencing more of this Camino quality? And how could you plan for that? This would be a great place to install an algorithm. If I'm finding myself, if I find that I've gone a couple days, and if I realize that I haven't been doing this Camino quality, then I will come back to what the intention in my activities were. It could be if I'm not finding time in my day to do the things that I said I was going to do for this Camino quality, then I will do it first thing in the morning or something like that. So having a plan for how you might deal with whatever obstacles come up. That's also a great one to use for how do we create more of the environment for us to feel that quality, is how to remove those obstacles. So I just wanted to give you that one last final thing. And now wishing that we had more time, and I'll stay on longer if people want to talk a little bit longer. I don't have a date yet, but I plan to do a bonus session, an extra session. There won't be any new content. You won't miss anything if you don't come, but the intention of it would simply be if you want to just get on and like Leo said, tune back into the energy or be my authentic self again, or just, get invigorated again, hear how other people are doing, get some support. Like, it's just not working for me. What do I do? I'd love to help anybody with that. So I will be sending the date out for that. And the last thing that I want to say is there anybody that wants to share? I'd love to hear, or let me put it this way. Is there anybody who wants more time to talk about how they could bring it home? Want some strategies or practical ideas? Raise your hand. This is my playground.
And it's a big question. I actually don't expect an answer because it's a hard one, but you can do all this, and I've done, I've talked about it, but what happens when you're not actually putting any of it into play? I mean, that's a whole nother big issue, but that's just my curiosity.
Are you saying you're not actually doing the action steps to bring it in? Or what do you mean, Nancy?
Yeah. Like when it's another thing on your to-do lists. Like Esther and I kind of talked about that a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I have that morning plan for 100 other things. And then
right.
you don't do it.
That's a great question. I'm going to take it back to the metaphor of the Camino. And what if you just didn't do it? What if you said, I'm going to go to Spain for 35 days and I'm going to walk the Camino? I'm just giving you a random number. But you didn't get up and you didn't do it. You just wouldn't have the experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. So yeah. I think it would be, what's really the intention here? And I love the question, Nancy, because we haven't checked in on this, but what is your level of commitment to it. And there's no pressure here. This is totally optional. It's like, how much do you want this thing? Do you believe in this thing? How much are you willing to run an experiment for 3 weeks and maybe make this the priority over other things?
Yeah. The word value came up. How much do you value it?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And if you do, then find ways to experiment with it. Does that get at what
Yeah,
you're
no, that
looking for?
helps. Yep. Thank you.
What other questions or comments do you have? We have a minute. We can stay on. Actually, let's do this. If anybody wants to stay, stay. Otherwise, we can actually end on time. I would love it if anybody wants more ideas. My favorite thing in the world to do is come up with creative ideas on how to do this kind of stuff. So if anybody wants to stay, please do. Otherwise, I hope this has been supportive for you. And I'll get an email out to everybody when we'll do that bonus section. And our final session is 3 weeks from today, where we come back, we celebrate, we report, and then complete, because that's always great too. And then you get to decide if you're going to continue, change your quality, be done, whatever that would be. So thank you all again for being here. I've thoroughly enjoyed you.